Hello, my dear students. How are you all? I hope that all of you are fit and fine at your home. And I also hope that you are all of you are doing study very well at your home. One most important thing I want to tell you that in this semester there will be exam definitely. Hence, all of you must study as well as possible, right? Okay, let me start the lecture on ESS, Energy Storage System. Yeah. This is the fourth lecture regarding energy storage system. This is a very important topic from both semester point of view and your research point of view. You may do a small project in final year also on this energy storage system. Okay. Now, what is energy storage system? Energy storage system store energy at the time of surplus energy and redispatch it when needed. You know, a good efficiency power plants when generated excess energy or surplus energy that can be stored and it can be redispatched in normal hour. Hence, there is another energy storage system. There are many types. ESS plays an important role in microgrid. Energy storage system is the most important part of the microgrid. As you know, when main supply or main grid is disconnected from the microgrid, then all the loads connected in microgrids are supplied by this ESS, energy storage system. ESS include the cost of ESS includes one time and annual maintenance cost is very low. Yeah, this is a one time investment. ESS include like electrochemical battery, supercapacitor, compressed air energy storage, flywheel energy storage. We will study in detail all these energy storage systems in next slides. Lithium ion is commonly used because best energy to weight ratio and slow loss of charge when not in use. Yeah, that is the most important factor with energy storage system. Energy storage system must be best energy is energy to weight ratio. Yeah, that system must store more energy in comparison to weight, and lithium ion battery is the most suitable for this. And it's also dissipates slow loss of charge when it's not in use. Okay. The most important energy storage technology are supercapacitors, compressed air, flywheels, and batteries. We will study it one by one. First one is battery. Battery is also known as energy storage device. Battery is an electrochemical cell. Yeah, there is a reaction, which chemical reaction, which creates develop the voltage inside the battery. It's also known as galvanic cell that transfer chemical energy into electrical energy. It consists of an anode and cathode. separated by an electrolyte. Yeah, you can see in diagram, this is anode and this is cathode. Positive terminal is known as cathode and negative terminal is known as anode, which is made by graphite, and cathode is made by nickel, cobalt, aluminum in a particular battery. And this is electrolyte. This medium is known as electrolyte, right? This electrolyte is act as a conductor as well as insulator at a particular instant. Conductor, when it is charged, it acts as a conductor. Conductor for ions, positive ions, and insulator for electrons. Electrons are generated at the anode and flow towards the cathode through the external circuit, while at the same time electroneutrality is ensured by ion transport across the electrolyte. Yeah, when battery is fully charged and electrons and the positive ions are get displaced, means electrons, when load is connected, then electrons again reversed to original place through the load, and flow of charge, flow of electrons means flow of charge causes the current, and hence it causes the voltage. At the same time, the electroneutrality is ensured by ion transport across the electrolyte. Electrolytes ensure the electroneutrality, means when we combine the positive ion and electron, then it will be neutral. Neutral means it will work like insulator. A cell contains the two active materials, electrodes. Yeah, that is electrodes, and that electrodes are known as anode, and second one is known as cathode. And the solution of electrolyte that provides the conductive environment between them. These electrolytes provides both conductive and insulating medium, depends upon during charging and discharging respectively. Okay. Now the types of battery, there are mainly three types of battery. Alkaline battery, which contains cathodes, is composed of a manganese dioxide mixture, whereas the anode is made of zinc powder. Second one is lead acid battery, which is also rechargeable. The electrodes are usually made of lead oxide and metallic lead, whereas the electrolyte is a sulfuric acid in case of lead acid battery. Third one is the lithium ion battery, which is also rechargeable, which means it can be recharged again and again. These electrodes are made of lithium cobalt oxide as a cathode and a carbon rod as a anode. Okay. Now the second important energy storage system is supercapacitor. Supercapacitor basically a capacitor, but it's different from the normal capacitor in terms of rate of charging. It's also known as a electric double layer capacitors, or the new generation of the energy storage devices to store electrical charge and provide the high power densities and long cyclic life compared to the other storage devices. Yeah, supercapacitor. Cyclic life means charging, discharging. Cyclic life means charging, discharging. When it will store, and it's when it dispatches the whole energy. This is known as one cycle, storing and discharging. The cyclic life of the supercapacitor is very long in compared to other energy storage system like battery or the flywheels, etc. These capacitors are intermediate system. Yeah, this is intermediate system that mainly use high dielectric materials to store more energy in a shorter time. Yeah, in normal capacitor, there are a dielectric medium between the conducting rods. In case of supercapacitor, it uses high dielectric materials due to which it stores more energy in a shorter time, due to which it's charged fastly. The energy density is typically hundreds of times greater than the conventionally used capacitor. It gets charged as uh, fastly more than 100 times than the normal capacitor. Is that clear? Okay. Now this is the characteristic of the supercapacitor. This is the potential axis. This is the distance from the electrodes, and this layer D2 is known as the outer Helmholtz plane. Basically, Helmholtz plane is an electronic when an electronic conductor is brought in contact with a solid or liquid ionic conductor, a common boundary interface interacted with the electrodes. This boundary or common interfacing boundary is known as the Helmholtz plane. Uh, the negative ions or get attracted or polarized and come closer to the positive metallic rods or positive electrodes. And the this boundary between the negative ions and the positive electrodes is known as the Helmholtz plane. Two layers of opposite polarity form at the interface between electrodes and electrolytes. It's double layer because there are again a separate array membrane is applied between the two metallic plates. This separator which uh, which separate the positive and negative ion, right? I hope it's clear to everyone. Now the next energy storage device is flywheel energy storage, FES. Works by accelerating a rotor flywheel to a very high speed and maintaining the energy in the system. Yeah, flywheels rotors rotate very fast and store the energy, surplus energy in form of rotational energy. When energy is extracted from the system, the flywheel's rotational speed is reduced as the consequence of the principle of conservation of energy. Adding energy to the system correspondingly result in, an increase in the speed of the flywheels. Right? When excess energy extracted from the system, that will work on the flywheels, which will rotate the flywheels in which motor and generator are, it consisted motor and generator. You can see this is a vacuum enclosure. There is a vacuum around the motor and generator, which rotates the shaft. There is a magnetic bearing due to which it generates energy, electrical energy. Right? Means this device is work as motor as well as generator both. When it dissipates energy, it works as generator. When it's store energy, it's work as a motor. Right? Now the next energy storage system is compressed air energy storage. Yeah. The excess surplus energy is used here to store the energy generated at that time for use at another time using compressed air. The surplus energy used to compress the air in a cylinder, and when it is needed, it's get dissipated. At utility scale, energy generated during the period of the low energy demand, yeah, it's dissipates its stored energy when during off peak. Is it stored in off peak and dissipate in case of high demand. High demand means peak load. There are two types of hours in the power system: peak hour and off peak hour. Off peak hour means there are only base load or minimum loads are connected to the power system, while in the peak hour, peak loads means there is a higher demands of the power, and the energy storage system release their stored power to the peak loads during the peak hour. Is that clear? Okay. Needs of the energy storage system in microgrids. Yeah. First, needs crucial element. It's a crucial element in the integration of the distributed generation into microgrid. Yeah, you have seen in previous lecture, the energy storage system are the most important uh, distributed generation in a microgrid. There is a critical role in establishing the voltage and frequency. Yeah, when there is a demand of power or active power in peak hour, it's supplied to the peak load, which causes which maintain stabilize the voltage and frequency both. Okay. Now energy storage in microgrids, its advantages. First, it causes high performance, avoid costly downtime and battery replacement. It's cause very high cycle life, ability to handle state of charge, high efficiency, self-balancing, wide operating temperature range, and minimal degradation. Energy storage systems provides all these benefits to the power system. It's safe and it is safe chemistry, not inflammable or explosive or corrosive, no dangerous. It's sustainable. It's excellent economics, right? You have to read all these important points, and you can write in each one. Now, next topic is transmission and distribution voltage levels. This is also an important topic of the power system. Now you can see the line diagram of the power system. First, you should know what is transmission system. Basically, transmission system is bulk power. In transmission system, bulk power transferred between the generating power station and distribution substation. Very large, huge amount of power is transferred between the generating station and distribution substations. The transmission voltage level lies between the 66 kV to 765 kV. Yeah, as per Indian power system, uh, it's the transmission voltage level lies between 66 kV to 765 kV. You may see there is a variation in transmission voltage and distribution voltage level in different books. Distribution is final and most crucial link in the electricity supply chain. Transmission is used to transfer the bulk power, while the distribution is the final and most crucial link in electricity supply chain. This is a final link. This is the final link between load and generator. That is called as distribution system. Its voltage level varies between 11 kV to 33 kV. Yes, just see the diagram. This is the generating station. Yeah, uh, as you have seen here, this is the 21 kV, means generating, this generating station is generating the power at 21 kV. This is the transformer, generating transformer. It's again step up the voltage. It will make uh, it will may make at 400 kV, 220 kV, or 132 kV. Yeah, there. This is another generating system. This is generating transformer. This is another generating system. It's generate the power at 11 kV, and it's again use the generating transformer, which will step up the voltage up to the uh, transmission voltage level, which is required, or installed transmission network. If there is a 400 kV transmitter network, then this transformer have to step up this generated voltage 11 kV into 400. If the transmission network is installed up to rating of 220 kV, then this transformer must develop or step up the voltage up to 220 kV. Okay. I hope it's clear to everyone. Now, from this point to this point, this is section in a transmission section or transmission lines. Okay. Now, this transformer between sub-transmission system and transmission system, this transformer will step down the voltage up to the sub-transmission voltage level, that is 66 kV. Okay, this transmission level system can transfer the power directly to the large customers, like industrial load, heavy industry load, like it may be BHEL, BHEL, or large industry. And again, this transformer step down the voltage of the sub transmission level voltage into primary distribution level voltage, that is 33 kV, 25 kV, and 11 kV. And this primary distribution again direct transfer to the medium large customer. These are the medium large customer, and primary distribution categorized into subcategorized into two parts. Categorized again into secondary distribution, that is 400 volt. Now this 400 volts is available to our uh, domestic level voltage. Small customer can be supplied directly at 400 volts. Yeah, this 400 volt is available to our domestic loads. Okay, you can see and note it down this diagram and just kept in your mind uh, to explain or write in exam. This diagram is very important. Okay, I hope it's clear to everyone. Now topology. Basically, topology is connectivity among the power system. What is topology? Connectivity among the power system components like generator, transformers, bus bars, transmission lines, and loads. You know, generators, transformer, and bus bar are transmission lines, and loads are the most important components of the power system. The connectivity of these components of the power system is known as the topology, right? Basically, there are two types of topology in power system: radial topology, and second one is the ring topology. Now, topology is important for why there is the topology, because it's important for the monitoring, control, and protection of the power system. We will discuss all these things: monitoring, control, and protection of the power system in detail in next unit. Right? Let us see first topology, radial topology. Radial topology means there will be no mesh will be formed among the components. You can see this is the substation, this is a bus bar, and this is the lines. Yeah, service. This is feeder, low voltage feeder, overhead, low voltage feeders cable. Yeah, this is transmitted through cable. Like this is the overhead lines. Overhead lines that is uh, that is hanging on poles. Right. This is a transformer. This section is known as fuse. Fuse, or it's sometimes called as isolator. And this is a bus, load bus, which is all the loads are connected at this bus. And you can see this structure is in form radial. Radial means there is no mesh or ring is formed of these components or these loads. This is also in nature radial. No mesh is formed. This is also radial. Though there is a parallel configuration, there are two buses which are parallel to each other. Right. This is substation. This is transformer, which will again step down to the substation voltage required at the load level voltage. This is huge. Okay. Now ring topology. This ring topology forms mesh or loop of the components of the power system. Like you can see, this is a substation. This is a bus. This cross looking like X component is known as the circuit breaker. Right? You can see this is load is connected on these lines. This is known as distributor. This is distributor. These lines are known as feeder. So this substation use feeders to feed to distributors. Right? These blue lines are known as distributor, and this green line will be known as feeder. And this cross lines is known as circuit breaker in power system. This is a conventions of the power system. You have to remember it, and you have to make your own notes of these topics. Thank you. If there is any confusion or queries, you may ask in group. Okay. Thank you.